Welcome to another episode of My Weird Prompts, an AI-generated podcast featuring the random prompts of Daniel Rosehill as answered by a revolving cast of friendly AI characters. Join us for deep dives into AI, technology, and whatever other random thing Daniel finds fascinating today. Subscribe on Spotify or your favorite podcatcher. Now, today's episode.
This episode was generated using artificial intelligence. Please verify facts.
Hi there, Herman and Corn. So I'm beginning to feel like someone up there is determined to get in the way of me enjoying a relaxing weekend, because it seems to be the day of the week where all these unexpected hardware disasters happen. I mentioned before that the router broke a few weeks ago, and it's just been a month where everything is kind of breaking. So today's breakage is my home server, which is actually my old desktop recommissioned. And I'm looking at it now, and it's kind of sorry state with the case open. And I'm 99% sure that the PSU has failed. So hopefully in the short term, I can get a new PSU. And then in the long term, I want to migrate it to a really old computer at this stage. But what I'd love to ask you about, Herman and Corn, you guys know that preparedness and backups are kind of my thing. And this actually reminds me of something I'd looked into before. So if you talk about things, if you have a really important computer or server or whatever, and you think about how it can fail, the PSU can go down, the GPU can go down, the CPU can go down. I'm talking about independent of the externals like the networking and whatever, but the actual physical components, any of those things can fail. The hard drives can fail. We have some protection against hard drives failing in disk storage. I use something called RAID on my computer, and that's, I think, pretty commonplace in higher end workstations, that you can survive one disk failure. And I think the chances of more than one drive failing at the exact same point in time are very slim. So RAID gives us a decent amount of protection against the fact that storage sometimes fails, but it doesn't do anything if the PSU just gives up like mine did today. I looked into this question before, Herman and Corn. You know I love learning about the kind of really advanced stuff that you see in highly controlled computing environments, let's just say. And I read that people actually have built workstations with fully redundant components. That means a redundant PSU, redundant RAM, redundant motherboard, redundant CPU. So we had this idea before. We talked about redundancy in government planning, and how we tend to think of redundancy just in terms of networking and electricity. But I find it totally fascinating, this idea that government has redundant command centers, leaderships, everything to fall over to in the event of an emergency. So Herman and Corn, if my desktop workstation was doing more than just Home Assistant and a bunch of other things, if it was holding really critical information and I had money to invest in making sure that it would never go down due to a single hardware failure, how would I build that? Are there guides online to build, or can you buy these things off the shelf? And I'm guessing they're extremely expensive, but perhaps there's something that one can do at the tinkerer level to get some of that benefit. Herman and Corn, let's talk about redundant components in high-value desktop workstations and servers, because at the end of the day, of course, a server is just a computer that someone else owns in their cloud. Over to you, Herman and Corn.
Well, it sounds like the universe is really testing Daniel's patience this month. First the router, and now the home server power supply unit goes out on a weekend. That is just classic hardware luck, isn't it?
It really is. Herman Poppleberry here, and I have to say my heart goes out to him. There is nothing quite like that sinking feeling when you press the power button and nothing, just silence. No fan spin, no status lights, just a very expensive metal box sitting under your desk. But you know, Daniel always has this way of turning a frustrating afternoon into a deep philosophical question about infrastructure.
He really does. We were just talking in the kitchen about how he wants to move his setup to an older machine once he gets a new power supply. But his prompt today goes way beyond just fixing a broken part. He is asking about the holy grail of computing, the Unkillable Workstation, a machine where no single hardware failure can take the whole thing down.
It is a fascinating rabbit hole to go down because, in the enterprise world, this is a solved problem. We have had redundant systems for decades, but bringing that level of reliability into a desktop workstation or a home server, that is where things get complicated, expensive, and frankly, a little bit weird.
Right, because when we talk about redundancy, most people think of RAID, which Daniel mentioned. Redundant array of independent disks. If one hard drive dies, your data is safe on the others. Most of our listeners probably have some form of that, or at least a solid backup routine. But Daniel is asking about the other stuff. The power supply, the memory, the motherboard, even the central processing unit itself.
And that is the right way to think about it if you are serious about uptime. If you have RAID6 array with 2-disk redundancy, but your single power supply pops a capacitor, your data is safe, but your service is still offline. You are still down until you can source a part and swap it out. So, let us start with the easiest one, which ironically is what failed for Daniel, the power supply.
It seems like the most logical place to start. In a standard desktop, you have one power supply unit. If it fails, the lights go out. But in the server world, we have redundant power supplies. How does that actually look in practice for someone who wants to build this themselves?
Well, if you look at a standard enterprise server, like a Dell PowerEdge or an HP ProLiant, you will almost always see 2 narrow rectangular slots at the back. Those are hot swappable power supply units. They slide in and out like drawers. Usually, they are configured in what we call a 1+1 configuration. Both are plugged into the wall, ideally on different circuits or different uninterruptible power supplies, and they share the load. If one dies, the other instantly takes over the full load without the computer even noticing.
So, for Daniel to do this at home, can he just buy a case that fits 2 power supplies? I remember seeing some enthusiast cases that had room for dual systems or dual power supplies.
You can, but it is not as simple as just sticking 2 standard ATX power supplies in a box. If you just have 2 separate power supplies, how do they both talk to the same motherboard? You need a special power distribution board, or a specific redundant power supply module designed for workstations. There are companies like FSP or Silverstone that make these. The Silverstone Gemini series or the FSP Twins Pro are great examples. They are basically 2 power modules tucked into a single housing that fits into a standard ATX frame.
That sounds like a great Tinkerer level solution. But here's the catch I'm thinking of. Heat and noise. Those redundant server power supplies usually have tiny, high-speed 40mm fans that sound like a vacuum cleaner. If Daniel puts that in his home office, he is going to need some heavy-duty noise-canceling headphones.
You hit the nail on the head. That is the trade-off. High-density redundancy usually equals high-velocity airflow. But if you are building a high-value workstation, you might accept that noise for the peace of mind. Or you go the route of high-end workstations like the Lenovo ThinkStation or the Dell Precision Racks. They offer redundant power supplies that are a bit more refined, but you are paying a massive premium for that engineering.
Okay, so let us say we have the power sorted. The next thing Daniel mentioned was the RAM. Now, I know about error correction code memory, or ECC-RAM. We've talked about that before in terms of preventing data corruption. But Daniel is asking about redundancy. Is there a way to have redundant RAM where the system keeps running even if a stick of memory completely dies?
There absolutely is, and this is where we move from prosumer territory into serious enterprise territory. Most high-end workstations and servers support something called memory mirroring. It works exactly like a RAID1 array for your hard drives, but for your memory.
Wait, so if I have 64 gigabytes of RAM installed, and I turn on mirroring, the operating system only sees 32 gigabytes.
Exactly. The system writes the same data to 2 different memory channels simultaneously. If the motherboard detects a fatal hardware error on one channel, it just ignores that stick and keeps running off the mirror. It is the ultimate protection against a blue screen of death caused by a faulty memory module. But as you pointed out, you are literally doubling your costs for half the capacity. And with DDR5, while we have on-die ECC for internal signal integrity, you still need true sideband ECC and mirroring to survive a total module failure.
That feels like a tough pill to swallow for a home user, but for a workstation doing a 48-hour render or a scientific simulation, it might be worth it. What about the CPU and the motherboard? That feels like the hardest part. If the motherboard fails, everything it is connected to is basically stranded.
This is where the definition of a workstation starts to blur into high availability cluster. To have a truly redundant motherboard and CPU in a single box, you are looking at something called fault-tolerant servers. Companies like Stratus or NEC make these. They basically have two identical sets of hardware running in lockstep.
Lockstep? Like, they're doing the exact same calculation at the exact same time.
Precisely. Every single clock cycle is synchronized between two different physical motherboards and CPUs. If a component on one slice fails, the other slice just carries on. The operating system doesn't even know a failure happened. This technology actually goes back to the 1970s with companies like Tandem Computers. They built systems for stock exchanges using an operating system called Guardian and a proprietary bus called Dynabus. It was a masterpiece of engineering, but Corn, we are talking about hardware that costs $50,000 and up. It is not something you just pick up at a local computer shop in Jerusalem.
Yeah, I don't think Daniel is looking to spend $50,000 to keep his Home Assistant instance running. So, let us look at the more realistic options for a high-value workstation. If we can't easily do a redundant motherboard in one chassis, what is the next best thing?
The next best thing is what we call high availability, or HA. Instead of trying to make one unkillable machine, you have 2 or 3 machines that work together. This is where software like Proxmox or VMware comes in. Daniel could have 2 mid-range servers. If one fails, the virtual machines and containers automatically migrate and restart on the second server.
But that still involves a brief period of downtime, right? While the second machine realizes the first is dead and reboots the services?
Usually, yes. It could be anything from a few seconds to a couple of minutes. But in terms of preparedness, which is what Daniel is thinking about, it is much more practical. If a power supply dies on server A, everything moves to server B. You can then fix server A at your leisure without the emergency feeling of everything being offline.
I like that approach because it also solves the motherboard problem. If the motherboard on server A fries, server B doesn't care. It just takes over the workload. But let us talk about the tinkerer level. If Daniel wants to build one very robust workstation, what are the off-the-shelf options that give him the most bang for his buck without going into full enterprise cluster territory?
I would say the first step is a workstation class motherboard that supports ECC memory. That gets rid of the most common silent killer, which is bit flips in RAM. Then, look for a case like the Fantex Enthu series or certain Leon Lee models that support dual power supplies. You can use a power splitter or a redundant PSU module like I mentioned earlier.
What about the storage? We mentioned RAID, but I feel like people often overlook the controller. If you have a fancy RAID card and that card dies, your data might be safe on the disks, but you can't read it until you find an identical card.
That is a great point. That is why I am a big fan of software-defined storage like ZFS. With ZFS, the intelligence of the RAID lives in the software and the operating system. If your motherboard or your disk controller fails, you can take those hard drives, plug them into almost any other computer running a compatible OS, and your data is right there. No proprietary hardware required. That, to me, is true preparedness.
So, let us look at the second-order effects here. If Daniel builds this tank of a workstation, what are the downsides he hasn't considered? We talked about noise and cost. What about power consumption?
Oh, it is massive. Redundancy is inherently inefficient. If you have 2 power supplies sharing a load, they are often operating at a lower efficiency curve than a single supply matched to the load. If you are running memory mirroring, you are powering twice as many RAM sticks for the same amount of usable memory. If you go the high availability route with 2 servers, you are literally doubling your idle power draw.
And here in Jerusalem, electricity isn't exactly getting cheaper. I can see the monthly bill creeping up just to ensure that a home server doesn't go down once every 3 years when a PSU fails. It is a classic case of diminishing returns.
It really is. You have to ask yourself, what is the cost of downtime? If you are a freelance video editor and a hardware failure on a deadline day costs you a $5,000 contract, then a redundant workstation is a bargain. If you are just worried about your home automation system not turning the lights on for 20 minutes while you swap a part, maybe it is overkill.
But there is a middle ground, right? I am thinking about component quality versus component redundancy. Sometimes people focus so much on having two of everything that they buy two mediocre parts instead of one incredibly high-quality part.
That is such an important distinction. A single high-end titanium-rated power supply from a reputable brand like Seasonic is statistically much less likely to fail than two cheap off-brand redundant modules. In the enterprise world, they use high-quality parts and redundancy. But for a home user, investing in a server-grade motherboard and a top-tier power supply probably gets you 99% of the way there.
I think that is a great takeaway. But let us go back to Daniel's specific situation. He is using his old desktop as a server. That is a very common tinkerer move. But old desktops usually have consumer-grade parts that have already lived through years of heat cycles.
Exactly. Repurposing old hardware is great for the environment and the wallet, but it is the opposite of a high availability strategy. Electrolytic capacitors in power supplies and motherboards have a shelf life. They dry out over time, especially if they've been sitting in a dusty corner for 5 years. If Daniel wants a truly reliable workstation, he might need to look at entry-level server hardware like the HP microserver or the Dell PowerEdge T-Series. They are designed to be left on 24/7 for a decade.
And the documentation is incredible. If a part fails, you can find the exact part number and buy a replacement on eBay for $20. Try doing that with a random consumer motherboard from 5 years ago.
Exactly. But remember, hardware redundancy doesn't protect you from software failure. If your Windows update fails and you get a boot loop, you are still down. This is why I always advocate for infrastructure as code or at least very frequent system imaging. If I were Daniel, I would focus on 3 things. First, a high-quality, over-provisioned power supply. Second, ZFS for data integrity so the disks are portable. And third, running everything in containers or virtual machines that are backed up nightly.
It is about recovery time versus uptime. Most of us don't actually need 100% uptime. We just need a recovery time that isn't a whole weekend of frustration. And speaking of the foundation of that pyramid, we should mention the Jerusalem factor. Our power grid here is pretty good, but we do get those winter storms. Redundancy at the workstation level is pointless if the whole neighborhood is dark.
Oh, absolutely. A good UPS with a massive battery is the first thing anyone should buy. It is the foundation, power from the wall, then the UPS, then the redundant PSU, then the RAID, then the backups. It is a lot of layers, but each one gives you a little more sleep at night.
And sleep is the one thing you can't have a redundant supply of. Well, this has been a great deep dive. It is one of those topics that seems simple on the surface, but gets incredibly technical once you start looking at how data actually moves through the silicon. If any of our listeners have actually built a fully redundant ATX workstation, I would love to hear about it. Send us a message through the contact form at myweirdprompts.com.
We love seeing those kinds of builds. It is like the prepper version of computer building. We are coming up on episode 400 soon, and it is all thanks to this community of listeners who keep sending us these fascinating questions.
Absolutely. You can find all our past episodes and our searchable archive at myweirdprompts.com. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a review on Spotify or whatever podcast app you use. It genuinely helps other curious people find the show.
It really does. Stay curious and maybe buy a spare power supply just in case.
Sage advice, Herman. I am Corn.
And I am Herman Poppleberry.
We will see you next time on My Weird Prompts. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
This episode was generated using Gemini Flash 3. Text-to-speech engine was Chatterbox Turbo.
Thanks for listening to another episode of My Weird Prompts, an AI-generated podcast featuring Daniel Rosehill's AI prompts as answered by a revolving cast of friendly AI characters including me, Cornelius the Sloth. Subscribe on Spotify or visit myweirdprompts.com.